Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव जय बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंद यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी माधव बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदा यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौर जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंद जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय। श्री गौर निताई की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Yeah. Can bring up, then keep that. You can connect it. Yes. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, shloka number 50. Sorry, 40. Okay. इमे जनपदा श्रद्धा पक्वौषधि विरुधा वनाद्रिनाद्युदन्वन्तो हि एधन्ते तव वीक्षितये। इमे जनपदा वृद्धा सुपक्वौषधि विरुधा वनाद्रिनाद्युदन्वन्तो हि एधन्ते तव वीक्षितये। इमे जनपदा वृद्धा सुपक्वौषधि विरुधा वनाद्रिनाद्युदन्वन्तो हि एधन्ते तव वीक्षितये। इमे जनपदा श्रद्धा सुपक्वौषधि विरुधा वनाद्रिनादि उद्वन्तो हि एधन्ति तव वीक्षितये। इमे जनपदा श्रद्धा सुपक्वौषधि विरुधा वनाद्रिनादि उदन्वन्तो हि एधन्ते तव वीक्षितये। माताजी। इमे जनपदा श्रद्धा सुपक्वौषधि विरुधा वनाद्रिनादि उदन्वन्तो हि एधन्ते तव वीक्षितये। Once more. इमे जनपदा श्रद्धा सुपक्वौषधि विरुधा वनादिनादि उदन्वन्तो हि एधन्ति तव वीक्षितये. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. It's my honor and fortune that I'm here and speaking something from Srimad Bhagavatam for my own purification. I seek prayers and blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas so that whatever I speak can be should be in line with the parampara. I should not do any addition and subtraction from my own side. And the speech should be such that it can inspire each one of us to become more Krishna conscious. So we chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times. 2 was extra for new temple opening. Because I know how this can be full of so much anxiety and all the temple leaders and managers, what all must be going on in their heads. So of course, all of us are playing some part in some way, but the least we all can do is we can sincerely from the core of our hearts pray, that everything should go smoothly and such a mammoth task of constructing a temple and opening a temple, should get done without any obstacles. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So let's come back to this verse 1.8.40, one of the last few verses of the prayers of Kunti Maharani. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance, the trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them, Kunti Maharani is telling. So let's very quickly see the context of this shloka, the 40th shloka. I think the prayers go on till 43. So the context is, from 18th shloka, these prayers have started, right? So 18 to 20, Kunti, okay, let me just first bring this up very quickly. So 18 to 20, those three shlokas, Kunti Maharani is glorifying Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And 21 to 25, she is telling how I am so fortunate. I'm kind of related, to you as a family member. You have protected us. And then she also says that may more calamities come upon us so that you can be with us more and more. 26 to 28, she is telling who can approach the Lord and who cannot approach the Lord, akincha gocharam and all that, right? How one should be feeling poverty struck, right? And helpless to be able to really approach the Lord. 28 to 31, she is telling about Lord's nature is inconceivable or confused. Right? And this verse today, 32, 36 is about different opinions on Lord's birth. Like some say Lord has come for, killing demons. Some say Lord has come because of this and that. And now today's verse comes in this section 37 to 43, wherein Kunti Maharani is somehow or the other making a case that Krishna should stay more, right? So she's trying to say that, Are, if you go, what will happen, and all that. In that series, in 37, she said that, you are the only one who protects. You are the only one who can protect. So once you go, who will protect us? So please don't go. 38, fame and activities of Pandavas and Yadus without you are like senses without soul. So please don't go. 39, if you leave, if you remember the last shloka, 39 was about the imprints of Lord's lotus feet in the kingdom all over, which is what is making the kingdom very beautiful. So she's saying, if you leave, our kingdom will no longer be beautiful. So please don't go, right? So the theme of 37 to 43 is, please don't go. Right? And today's shloka, 40, she is saying something similar. She is saying that we are having prosperity. So she's also telling what is meant by prosperity. She is telling what is meant by prosperity, which we saw, right? Rivers, trees, hills, ocean, and everything. She's telling the prosperity which we are seeing is because of your glance. So please don't go. Right? So this is the context. And Kunti Maharani's mood here is she's in a dharam sankat. Because wherever Krishna is wanting to go, that is also her family only. Right? Actually, he's going to her, paternal place, right? Her Maika, I don't know what's called in Kannada, but her, parents' place, right? Yadus. And here the Pandavas, so she's saying, if you go here, we'll be miserly. And if you stay here, they will be miserly. So therefore, next verse she is saying, better you cut my ties of affection. That's the next verse. But we'll not get into the next verse. But you try to understand her mood. She's trying to somehow say, please don't go. But she's also conscious, wait a second, but if he does not go means he'll stay here. Means again, they will have the same problem. Then she is naturally saying, please cut the ties of affection in the very next shloka. But anyway, we'll focus on this shloka. So one thing, which Prabhupada highlights at several places is that how cities and villages are mentioned in Bhagavatam. So it's not that earlier cities were not there. Many times we have a wrong understanding that earlier times were very primitive times. No, we had aeroplanes, we have a lot of scientific inventions and whatnot, archaeology, missiles and everything. And we also had cities. And in the Narada Boy episode, the first canto, first few chapters, wherein Narad Muni's past life is being described as a Narada boy. If we remember how Narad Muni's mother is bitten by a serpent, and then Narad boy takes that as an opportunity and leaves home. And there it is described how he crosses so many hills and mountains and cities and towns and villages, right? And Prabhupada writes there that these things were there in the previous day of Brahma also, because that was previous day of Brahma. So Prabhupada writes in that purport that these things were there in the previous day of Brahma also, this day also. So these things keep repeating. The so-called material advancement, right? The material civilization, there is nothing new. It's happening every time it happens. Same, whatever rockets, whatever missiles, or whatever inventions, laptop, iPad, iPhone. This has happened in the previous day of Brahma also, and this will keep happening again and again. Punah punah charvita charvananam. Right? So that keeps happening. Prabhupada says. So there's an important thing to understand from Srimad Bhagavatam. But anyway, in today's verse, we are trying to take 4 themes from today's verse. There are 4 themes which are coming very clearly. First theme is What is real prosperity? Is real prosperity to have a Mac laptop? Is real prosperity to have, a very expensive phone? Or is real prosperity to have gifts of nature? Theme number one. Theme number two, when will we get these gifts of nature? Okay, we understood prosperity is gifts of nature. Now, when will we get that gifts of nature? When Krishna is pleased, right? Theme number three, which Prabhupada is very much emphasizing in this purport, the unnecessary activities of a godless materialistic civilization and the consequences, the harsh consequences of that, right? And the fourth theme is Krishna's glance, the glories of Krishna's glance. Right? Does that sound okay? We'll cover these four themes. Let's see how much we are able to cover. Okay? So first theme is about real prosperities and gifts of nature. So Prabhupada writes in the purport. So wherever I'm putting things in double quotes, that's what is Prabhupada saying as it is. And it's so important because sometimes Prabhupada writes so wonderfully some sentences, which kind of put all arguments to rest. So he's saying human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. Prabhupada can see through. Once when, Prabhupada in the early years, when he used to go for all morning walks with all his disciples, right? And once, Prabhupada saw one disciple was very much attracted by that New York skyline, and that all these, what is that called? Skyscrapers, right? And, tall buildings and all that. And, it was evident in the face of the disciple that he is kind of mesmerized, and he's finding it to be like very, very attractive and beautiful. That material advancement of tall buildings and the whole skyline and all that. And Prabhupada, understood that. And Prabhupada said, this is adult Disney World. And one other occasion, Prabhupada just, he spat, saying that all this is, not of much real value. Again, it does not mean that we disrespect whatever others are doing. It does not mean that we minimize what is happening. Just like, for example, a very proud moment for our country that, Chandrayaan was launched and, successfully landed on the moon, right? Whether moon, not moon, and all that, we don't have to get into those arguments. But the point is, it is indeed a matter of importance from the country perspective and from the country's position from world's perspective. Otherwise, imagine if people attack you, will not be able to practice Krishna consciousness, right? So many times we devotees take wrong stands in kind of minimizing that or ridiculing that or disrespecting that or negating that. We don't have to do that. We can say, yeah, wonderful. It's a very great moment because it has happened. And now India, and India means what? Sanatan Dharma. If there is good government, what will that good government do? Why Yudhishthir Maharaj and all these great devotees who would have been happy in sitting under a tree, why were they about expanding the kingdom? Why would a devotee king expand the kingdom? Anybody can answer quickly? I mean, he is not passionate, he is humble, he is happy to stay under a tree. But why would a devotee king like Prahlad, Dhruv, and all these people, Amrish, why would they worry about expanding their kingdom? Yes? Exactly. Why Krishna wanted the Dharma Yuddha to happen? Because Krishna wants devotee kings to rule over the entire world, right? So that Sanatan Dharma, Krishna consciousness can spread not only under a tree, but in the entire world, right? So anything which makes India glorious, anything which makes Sanatan Dharma glorious, India glorious because it will spread Sanatan Dharma naturally, right? If it is in the right hands, is wonderful. It is for spreading Krishna consciousness. And I was so pleasantly surprised to see how that S. Somnath, the ISRO chief, immediately after that launch and all, after the landing and all that, he has given so many things in the news saying that all this is coming from Vedas. The modern science, which West is so proud of, has been actually taking from the Vedas. He is so boldly telling that, right? See, only when you are successful, you can say something boldly. If he was a failure, if he would have said 100 things, nobody would have listened, right? So we have to have a right understanding of neither we ridicule such things or disrespect some things or minimize such things, nor we become so fascinated. Arey, chodo Krishna, chodo Bhagwan. I mean, leave all these things. See, these scientists are achieving bigger things than what devotees are achieving. That would be another wrong extreme. That would be another wrong extreme. We have to understand that ultimately all this in the larger scheme of things is having zero value. And that's when sometimes when one devotee makes this statement, that is misinterpreted, and there is some kind of a tug of war. And when this kind of a devotee makes this statement, there is misinterpretation and there is a tug of war, wherein we can understand both things in right perspective, right? Anyway, coming back. So when Prabhupada is saying that, human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises, he is able to see through that ultimately all this has zero value. If we are over glorifying this on top of human life, the goal of life, Krishna consciousness, then it's like decorating the dead body. No matter how wonderfully you decorate, what's the point? Yes, decoration may be wonderful. You may have done a lot of hard work in decorating the body. But if ultimately you are only decorating the body, then what's the point? Right? So in that spirit. But if the body has soul and you are decorating, then it is wonderful. Is it not? Just like there is that hare and tortoise story, which all of us have learned in our childhood. Slow and steady. Everybody has heard that story. Now, does it mean you should be slow only? But fast and steady is even better, is it not? See, that is to compare that, okay, if you are fast but lazy, see that hare in that story, that rabbit in the story, he slept there. If he had not slept, who would have won? Any doubt anybody has? So when slow and steady is being highlighted, it is being compared to fast and lazy. But if you can be fast and steady, is that better than slow and steady or not? Right? Now, that does not give you an excuse to remain slow. Krishna consciousness preaching is not about slowness. Enthusiasm, Prabhupada said, endeavoring with intelligence. So we have every statement in the Shastra or every statement of Prabhupada can be like seen as a double-edged sword. It can be misinterpreted also, it can be rightly understood also. So yes, indeed, ultimately, no matter what we do, will not bring real prosperity. And we'll dive deeper into that subject. And we can see greenery, for example. When somebody is sick, what do doctors recommend? Go to some hill station, see some greenery, take him to some place. And greenery is synonymous with health and life. Why? Because it's nature which can make us happy. And therefore, Vedic civilization, and Prabhupada also is telling in the purport that prosperity is always centered around cow and farming. Therefore, in some purport, somewhere Prabhupada has said that all one needs to be happy in life, materially speaking, is to have a cow and have a piece of land. Why? What will you do on that land? Farming. So it boils down to cow and farming. And therefore, interestingly, if you see, Krishna stands for Go Raksha and Balram stands for Krishi Raksha with the plow in his hands. Right? All these things are not by chance, and these are not some devotees trying to force fit certain things back. These are facts. These are facts. Okay, maybe later we are trying to realize some fact, and it is appearing as if we are trying to give some interpretations to those things. It's not like that, because seniors, those who are self-realized souls, they are telling the same thing. And therefore, this shloka comes somewhere, Gavaya Dhanvan, Dhanya Dhanvan. Again, actually in our Shastras, if we understand from the right sources, no matter something is written in some Veda, some Upanishad, some Puran, still there is no contradiction. Things match so wonderfully, and that increases our faith in the Shastras. Somewhere in some Shastra it says, Gavaya Dhanvan, Dhanya Dhanvan, means if you have a cow, you are rich, and if you have Dhanya means grains. If you have grains, you are rich. You see again matching. Right? So living in harmony with nature is so important. And now people are realizing this more and more, wherein this whole craze of herbal and organic is there. Now there is another problem. Even if something is not herbal, they will write herbal there and they will sell, because ultimately they want to make money. So corporates or those who are only interested in money, they are very clever to ride on the wave of whatever is selling. Whatever is selling, they will make money from it. It doesn't mean they are really, really genuine. Now, there are some genuine people as well. Just because some are trying to make money doesn't mean everybody is trying to. But we can understand the reality. The reality is that ultimately organic, herbal, why those things people are going back to? Because the more in harmony with nature we are, the more our whole system of body, family, society, country will go on very nicely. And we cannot eat nuts and bolts, no matter how much industrial civilization, how much machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, whatever we may do. Ultimately, we will not eat nuts and bolts, right? We may say that, oh, agrarian economy is a backward economy. But at the end of the day, every country, whatever country it may be, first world, second world, third world, whatever country it may be, has to pay due attention to agriculture. Otherwise, what will people eat? Can people eat nuts and bolts? We cannot. So therefore, we have to have a very strong conviction about certain principles from Shastras. And that is what differentiated Prabhupada from everybody else. In Prabhupada's times also, so many went to the West. And it's not that they did not have faith in Krishna. It's not that they were not devotees. Only Prabhupada was the only devotee. Everybody was a rascal. It's not like that. But Prabhupada had so much faith in the words of his Guru. Prabhupada had so much faith in the power of the holy name. And Prabhupada had so much faith in the Shastras as words of God that he was ready to challenge the scientists on the strength of this faith. He was convinced, he was sure. Aisa hi hai. Now, you may find it, you may not find it. Your Pratyaksh Pramana may tell it, your Anuman Pramana may not tell it, but this is what it is. He was so sure. And the more we advance in Krishna consciousness, the more we will also be able to perceive same things. Once somebody gifted a smartwatch to Prabhupada. I don't know smartwatch or what it was, but in those times it was something very, very advanced. And then, Prabhupada accepted that gift, but then after looking at it, he said nonsense. Not to disrespect, see again, not to disrespect somebody who gave the gift. You have to take all these things very properly, yeah, because everything depends on the relationship, right? So we cannot take one thing out of the context. So maybe whatever was the relationship of that person with Prabhupada, but then Prabhupada said nonsense. Why? Because earlier I was able to see time without using any other hand. Now I have to touch to see time. So one more hand is going there. But sometimes when we do not have the right convictions, when we do not have the right faith in Krishna consciousness, we get enamored by these attractions. So-called material advancement. And therefore, Vedic culture had this ABCD very prominent. ABCD. What is ABCD here? There are two ABCDs in Krishna consciousness. What is one ABCD? Association, books, chanting, and diet. That we never forget. That is one ABCD. What is this ABCD? Vedic culture. Absolute truth. Vedic culture is centered around four things. Absolute truth. Who is absolute truth? Krishna. B. Brahmanas. C. Cows. D. Deities. That is Vedic culture, centered around these four things, A, B, C, D. And this is not theory. This is not theory. It is there in our history. Do we not hear that India was once a golden bird? Do we not know that how these Britishers have looted so many pounds and millions and millions of pounds worth of money? It's all there, historical facts, right? So indeed our prosperity was coming from God consciousness, because God consciousness would make sure that nature will flourish. Krishna's smile is reflected in nature's prosperity. And we see these episodes. Janmashtami is coming up, so it's very relevant to discuss this. The original Janmashtami celebration, when Krishna appeared, the Nandotsav, right? We know how Nanda Maharaj, sometimes this appears as exaggeration, but it is not. Nanda Maharaj gave away many hundreds of decorated cows, mountains of grains, valuable cloth, and ornaments to priests, brahmanas, musicians, and singers. And towards the end, we see how, seeing the fun, the cowherd men in turn joyfully threw yogurt, threw milk and water on the gopis. Then everyone began to throw butter on each other. How many of us here are so rich that we can play Holi with butter and milk and yogurt? Yeah, we have more money in our bank accounts probably. Where is prosperity? It's another thing to have more numbers in your account, which I don't know is what. When we pay some money to somebody, some number from here becomes less and some number here increases. Anytime economy crashes. Therefore, Prabhupada said, paper money is prostitution of economy. Now, I am not a very economics expert, but I know some devotees who understand how the science of economics works. Like, what is money, right? What is money? If you see our note also, it's not any money. It says, I promise to give you. We have seen anytime. No. Anyway, so, this is not real. This is not real wealth. This is not real wealth. This was real wealth and prosperity. Not only in mind, not only from, see, sometimes people say, okay, you will say satisfaction is real wealth. Because those who are poor people, they will have to live with that wealth only. Now, what else? No, you see here, the other real wealth also, which you feel is wealth, is also there. Is also there. Because ultimately, it's all coming from Krishna. So we have to have that conviction. Not that, oh yeah, because you are a poor person. So therefore, what else will you take shelter of? Better you take shelter of. There is satisfaction is great wealth. No. Therefore, when people have things, when they become devotees, that sets a great example for people. Because who has given things to that person? Krishna. Correct? Krishna has, if somebody has more intelligence, if somebody has more money, if somebody has bigger house, whatever facility somebody has, who has given that person this facility? Krishna. Anybody, any doubt? These things we should have no doubt. Now, if Krishna has given, what is he supposed to do with those things? Should he just throw them away in jungle? Should he put fire on all of them? What should you do with that? Go and serve Krishna, right? And when such people serve Krishna, then common masses, you see common what? Leaders or masses? 2% are wise, 98% are otherwise. So when these people, they do things, common men will follow, they'll be happy, oh, good, good, okay, so I will also do this, things will be fine. That is good preaching, setting good example. Prabhupada said a happy devotee is the best preacher. Now, if after chanting, after practicing Krishna consciousness, we are only cursing that person who brought us to Krishna consciousness, kidhar hai wo? Where is that guy? I'll just give the feedback to him. Huh? And now we are walking around, people say, I am also frustrated, he is also frustrated, what's the use? But if we are walking as a shining examples of happiness and enthusiasm coming from within, okay, then people will say, Kya, bhaiya, jara, can you please tell what are you doing? What is going on in your life? Anyway, I'll not get distracted much. We'll see more examples. Earlier times, women would use, would wear real gold, real diamond jewelry. Now they are wearing plastic jewelry, imitation jewelry. Prosperity has increased or come down? Earlier people had, I'm sure if you go in a previous generation or previous to previous generation, I can guarantee every home had some, big plates, brass plates and things like that, which later we in Diwali cleaning and all that we have kind of disposed of, right? Earlier we had these, these real value metal, utensils, and now we have steel and aluminum utensils. Prosperity or going back? Going back. So that was theme number 1, right? What was theme number 1? Real prosperity is nature's gifts. We have to be convinced. It's not a matter of theory. It's not a matter to hear and tell and live some other life. We have to be convinced. Second, what we have to be convinced of is, when will nature bestow gifts? When Krishna smiles, when Krishna is pleased. So nature bestows gifts when Krishna is pleased. And we know so many things about it. We know how in Bhagavata Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena konteya jagat viparivartate. Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti, under my supervision, the material nature is working. What bigger proof we want to know? And Prabhupada writes, I think in this purport or some other purport, that when Krishna is happy, he asks the material nature to release more. And when Krishna is unhappy, he will ask the material nature to restrict. So releasing and restricting is happening as per Krishna's will, right? Which is what is Krishna confirming in Bhagavad Gita as well. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. We know yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. Correct? We know this philosophically, that Krishna, if we satisfy Krishna, entire creation gets satisfied. And we know one pastime related to that. What is that pastime? The Durvasa Muni, Akshay Patra pastime, right? Krishna asked Draupadi, oh, is there something? Draupadi said, no, all finished. He said, no, show me something would be there. Then one grain of rice or something was there. Krishna ate. As soon as Krishna ate, all the thousands of disciples of Durvasa Muni, everybody was satisfied. Again, is this a fantasy story? We may be reading stories, pastimes, shastras, maybe every day. What matters is, are we convinced about those conclusions? Now, how will this conviction come? Ultimately, it's all science. Yeah, I am an engineer, scientist of sorts. I cannot avoid getting into these kind of formulae, right? So how will this conviction come? We said that, okay, we read something in the Shastras. We preach also, but many times, even as preachers, we are not convinced about what is written here. And then therefore, we carefully avoid those things, right? I'm sure every preacher has faced this, that sometimes when we are not convinced about something, we carefully avoid those things, and then still we give a class and everybody claps and we become, very famous. Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, everything we get, right? Just like once I remember when I was preaching like many years back, my mentors used to tell me, make sure every now and then give class on chanting. And when I look back, when I see how many classes I've given on chanting, I feel ashamed sometimes, Why he said so? Because when we give class on chanting, at least our conscience, whatever, see, when we are giving class, we prepare. I'm sure everybody agrees that whenever we give classes, it improves our Krishna consciousness, if we are doing it in the right consciousness. So every now and then we should give class on chanting. Why? So that our chanting improves. And we all know 99% of advancement takes place by, probably we read in the beginning, but now probably we forgot as we are practicing more and more. So we have to again remember and go back. Again, remember, go. That is Krishna consciousness, to not forget the basics. Some people say Prabhupada books have only basics, so let me read some other books also. Basics is all that is. The absolute truth is very simple. We just have to cry out helplessly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If by reading things, if our understanding of what Prabhupada has given improves, then wonderful, if it is under some authority. But if by reading all these hundreds of things, Garur Puran, Ye Puran, all this, getting into all details of technicalities, if the most important principles of Krishna consciousness, if we are forgetting, surrender, chanting, and whatever we know, all the basics, then operation successful, patient died. No doubt about this. Now, am I saying reading those books are wrong? Again, you see, it's always in Krishna consciousness, one extreme could be wrong, the other extreme could be wrong. In ISKCON, these kind of devotees may have objection towards this kind of devotees. Kind of devotees may have objection towards that kind of devotees. But those who have got mercy of Krishna, they'll be able to understand the balance and they'll be able to go by respecting them also and respecting them also. Right? So that is what we should understand always. Right? So, Yasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam. If Krishna is happy, everybody will be happy. And we also know that Yatha Tarora Mula Nishechanena Shloka, wherein watering the root of the tree. Right? It is actually the fact. So whenever in our homes, in our student centers, wherever we are, we should always be conscious that by serving Krishna, I'm not wasting time. See, all of us are very busy, correct? There is no time. Even a fool doesn't have time. If you ask a fool, Bhaiya, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, kidhar? Nobody has time, right? So therefore, when we have to sit for chanting, or when we have to do deity worship, when we have to offer bhoga, husband is telling wife, wife is telling children. How many homes this is happening? Okay, at least in my home it is happening. So, because we try to, postpone it, or, okay, somebody else will do it. I'll delegate it, right? There may be some genuine reasons for that. I'm not getting into that. But what I'm trying to say is all of us should feel that, okay, whatever time I'm spending in directly serving Krishna, it's not a waste of time. It's a sacrifice of my time to get the best gain, to make Krishna happy. And by doing that, actually things are improving. Temple presidents, they should not think that somebody else is maintaining this temple. They should think Krishna is maintaining this temple. And if I serve Krishna, if the whole community serves Krishna, if Krishna remains the central principle, then whatever has to happen will happen. These kind of convictions are needed. And we'll see wherever these convictions are there, temples will flourish, community will flourish. And we have a live example in front of us also here. Right? So this is what will happen. And of course, Krishna says, Yatra Yogeshwara, Sanjay says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, right? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Padhanudha, Tatra Shri Vijaya Bhutir. How many of you want Shri? Yesterday or day before yesterday, there was this Vara Mahalakshmi, right? Yeah. So Shri Vijaya. How many of us want to be victorious? And that also, we don't want immoral victory. We want also morality, right? Wherever there is Krishna, this is guaranteed. We have to have faith in these words. Then only we'll be able to practice with full conviction and we'll be able to preach with full conviction. Otherwise, one of the two things will be half-hearted. And then we'll wonder, why am I not making progress? Why am I not making? Okay, so I'll very quickly, we'll very quickly talk about this theme of satisfaction of Krishna very quickly. So we are talking about the second theme still, right? What is the second theme? Please Krishna, that's the main thing. Then nature will give you gifts and whatever. Now in pleasing Krishna, I just wanted to zoom in a bit more so that the point goes inside me also very thoroughly. So we all know that our supreme goal is to please Krishna. Samsiddhi Haritoshanam. Whatever occupational duties we are performing, whatever constitutional duties we are performing, it's not only for our job and family, occupational duties. It's also for our constitutional duties, chanting, deity worship. We are doing for what? To please Krishna, for satisfaction of Guru and Krishna. Now, is this easy or difficult? Is it easy to please Krishna or is it difficult to please Krishna? Huh? Sometimes Prabhuji is telling, Matajis are telling both. So, when we are new in Krishna consciousness, it is easy to please Krishna. Because Krishna is eager. For millions of lives, this person was roaming around. Now he has come. Okay, even if he is sleeping in temple, I'll give him, at least he is sleeping in temple. So Krishna gives mercy. Right? So when we are new, it is very easy to please Krishna. As we advance, now you decide whether you should have advanced or you should not have advanced. Then there's a test. There are all kinds of tests in a devotee's life to figure out what you really want. Right? So as we make progress in Krishna consciousness, Krishna will no longer be pleased by your same dhoti kurta which you wore when you first came to Krishna consciousness, or with the same tilak which you applied very nicely, right? Or with the same kantimala which you are proudly wearing. Krishna will no longer be pleased by that. In fact, that may be doing some wrong also. To please Krishna will become more and more difficult. So once Gaurang Prabhu in one lecture, in his in his humorous way, he was telling that first, when we come to Krishna consciousness, everybody makes us sit and feeds prashadam. We say, no, Prabhuji, please take more. Everybody. Then after some time, say, can you also help in cleaning some vessels? Then after some time, can you also cook? And after some time, we are so busy with services that sometimes we feel, is anybody taking my care or not? And some of us feel, ISKCON uses people, throws them away. I will leave ISKCON. Somebody wrote this letter to Prabhupada also. Prabhupada said, you have not understood ISKCON. You have not understood Krishna consciousness. So we have to have a right understanding of these things. We have to keep coming to association of devotees wherein these understandings can keep getting emphasized and reiterated. Because as we spend more and more time, there is a tendency to forget some very important principles. Like in some corporate companies, they have some tenets or some things which is like very sacred. Anything can be compromised. This cannot be compromised. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness and ISKCON, there are certain things which we will always remember. So Dhruva Maharaj, when he went, Dhruva, Uttanpad's son. Uttanpad, obviously, he was helpless at that time. That's another Grahastha topic later we'll discuss. But he was helpless, so he had, Dhruv went, and then Narad Muni met him. And Narad Muni thought, okay, let me just go to Uttanpad and tell him that things are all fine. So Narad Muni went, and there's this nice shloka wherein Narad Muni is telling Uttanpad that, what Sudushkaram karma kritva lokapalair api prabhu Eshyati achirato rajan yasho vipulayam stava. Narada Muni is telling Uttanpad, don't worry, your son is in forest and he has gone to do the most difficult thing. That's how Narada Muni told Uttanpad. Prabhupada writes in purport, what is that most difficult thing? And Prabhupada says, the most difficult task in life is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of God. Most difficult task in life, Now this is a little contradiction because when we were, somebody brought us to Krishna consciousness, they said, oh, Krishna is eager. One small thing you do, he becomes pleased. Now we want, this is Prabhupada is writing. Most difficult task in life is to satisfy the Supreme. Because that's how we'll fine-tune our Krishna consciousness more and more. More and more. When a 5-year-old boy is not walking properly, or a 2-year-old boy, let's say, 5-year-old knows how to walk. I think 1-year-old boy, or let's say 1-year-old boy. When a 1-year-old boy, while walking, he's falling or walking a little teda meda, people will clap. And they'll say, very nice, yes. Now, if you are walking like this, your father will say, kya ho gaya? Theek se chal. Right? That's exactly what it is. As we grow in Krishna consciousness, as we become Krishna's elder sons and elder sisters, not Krishna's elder, but among all children of Krishna, as we become elder brothers, elder sisters of other children, then Krishna expects more from us. That is what makes it harder to please. And now, is it a bad news or is it good news? Good news, because we are getting an opportunity to become better devotees. We are not yet devotees. At least I can speak for myself. We are trying to become devotees. And every day should come as a day when we become better devotees. Prabhupada writes somewhere, becoming a progressive devotee. Okay. And probably we'll just skip this. How there are so many examples of people doing what not to satisfy Krishna. See, just like when we buy something from Amazon, what are the two things we look at? Price and reviews. Correct? Price and reviews. We look at these two things when we buy something online. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam talks about both about Krishna. You want Krishna? You want Krishna? Here is the price and here are the reviews. It's not easy to get Krishna. Lot of price has to be paid. Our ego has to be crushed, rolled under road roller, fried in a frying pan. Then, we have to go through some tremendous adversities in life. Whatever, we have examples in Srimad Bhagavatam of all variety, right? Bhagavatam is broadcasting. You want Krishna? This is the price you have to pay. Now, why will somebody unnecessarily give that much price? Look at the reviews. Look at the reviews. If you want this, then pay this price. Everybody, whoever is pure devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam is telling how wonderful they are, how they are glorifying, even Kunti Maharani here, right? It's not cheating. This is all real. We see how Arjun, what he had to do to satisfy Krishna. Now we are just trying to see some glimpse of that price which we have to pay. And we all can try to see in our own lives. Shastras are never theoretical. If they were, they would not have been accessible to us. Especially the way Prabhupada has given them to us. Because Prabhupada has made it very tangible. a concrete reality. Following Shastras, Prabhupada has made a tangible reality in our lives. What Arjuna had to do to satisfy Krishna? He had to go against his noble tendencies. Right? Arjuna was a noble man. Therefore, naturally, he did not want to kill. He was thinking for his own sake. Therefore, he wanted to give up. So he went against his noble tendencies to satisfy Krishna. What did Prithu do? We are wanting to do yajna to satisfy Krishna. Prithu did not do a yajna to satisfy Krishna. Interesting. Krishna was more happy with the 100th sacrifice which Prithu did not do than the 99 sacrifices which Prithu did. You see how interesting these things can be? Therefore, we always need guidance in our life. Because it's not the activity itself which tells, is it aligned with Krishna consciousness or not? Is it what purpose? So it's like action, intent, consequence, several things. That's another topic. Right? Action, intent, consequence, all these have to be taken into account. Then blessings. Sometimes we minimize the role of blessings and permission in our life. For example, we go ahead and start a program. That's wonderful. Preaching zeal is wonderful, but we should remember to always take permission and blessings before we do that. Now, will the authority say no? You will say yes. But that very act has sanctified it. It is no longer a material endeavor. It is not your mission. It is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. That's what these small things make difference. These small things make difference. That before we do any spiritual activity, and we have that shloka in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? That when we remember Gauranga Mahaprabhu, most difficult things become easy. And when we don't remember Gauranga Mahaprabhu, even easy things can become difficult. And what to speak of the spiritual potency behind things, right? And it's so simple, just to seek permission, just to take blessings before we start even a spiritual activity. Because that's what creates the difference. So Prithu did not do it again. Some of us, we know the story, to avoid that conflict with Indra. Yudhishthir told a lie. Can you imagine for Yudhishthir to tell a lie? That is a principle which he would die for. But he had to tell a lie to satisfy Krishna. Krishna has unique tests for all of us. Priyavrat wanted to become a sannyasi. That's a nice thing. I mean, under Narad Muni's inspiration, like so many other cases in Bhagavatam, under Narad Muni's inspiration, Priyavrat wanted to become sannyasi. He wanted to just give his life for Krishna completely without any other distractions. He was told by his father, Swambhuva Manu, and by Brahma, do one thing, get married and run the whole kingdom. He had to go against his will and against something which we consider as, okay, very, wonderful for Krishna consciousness. He had to go against that to satisfy Krishna. Sanatan Goswami cheated the prisoner to satisfy Krishna. You see, we are seeing some spectrum of what it, and now we don't start cheating tomorrow onwards. Every now and then, everybody think that, see, Sanatan Goswami cheated, so I'll also cheat. No, that's where knowledge is a double-edged sword. Shastras have to be applied in maturity under guidance properly. And we were talking about that thing, right? That how we will get that maturity. I had asked that question that, how will we understand what's the right balance? Right? We get that maturity by serving. We may get knowledge of Shastras by reading, but the right application of Shastras, what is to be applied in what situation? Here should I take my sword or here should I fold my hands? There can be situations to justify both, right? In what situation, what is to be done? How will we get that understanding? By mercy. No other way. Only by mercy. Only by satisfaction of great souls. Only by service. Only when we render service, and therefore, we humbly request all of us, including myself, that whenever there is an opportunity to serve, we should grab that opportunity, because otherwise whatever else we are doing will remain incomplete. Including reading of Shastras. Like some of us are very intellectually oriented. We like to understand so many things from Shastras. We like to make points. That will become a useless, nonsense activity if we are not rendering service to translate that into realizations. Into the right time and the right gist of that knowledge or essence of that knowledge has to come. It's not coming. There is a fight between two devotees. Now, Bhagavatam is full of that. Now, what is to be done now? That understanding is not coming right now. Why? Because probably we are not pleasing great souls. We have to please great souls somehow or the other. And then that right understanding at the right time will come. And it is so important for our progress of Krishna consciousness. And interesting, I cannot not cover this. In Sanatan Goswami cheating episode, you see what Prabhupada is writing. We know many times Prabhupada is referring to himself by saying we, right? We are also trying to follow the instructions of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and like that. You see what Prabhupada is writing. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in the service of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada is telling about himself. Huh? We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in the service of Srimad Bhagavatam. Such cheating was necessary for a great cause. And there is no loss for any party, even the party who got cheated in such transcendental fraud. Prabhupada is telling I did a transcendental fraud when I left my home. Right? So you see how he is sensitive towards that, how he is conscious of the higher principles. How he is referring to that in Srimad Bhagavatam purport. There is so much in Prabhupada's consciousness. Okay, so maybe we can just very quickly, in the same theme of satisfaction, there is a very nice shloka which tells what is the best way and easiest way to satisfy Krishna. What is the best and the easiest way to satisfy Krishna? Dayaya sarva bhuteshu santushtya yena kenava sarvendriyo pasantya cha tushyati asu janardana. Asu means quickly. Asu means quickly. Very quickly Krishna gets pleased. Do we not want to know how? See, ultimately we are saying we want to please Krishna. Whatever we are doing is to please Krishna. Now Krishna is telling, Narada Muni is telling to Prachetas. Narada Muni is telling to Prachetas how Krishna can be easily pleased. Do we not want to latch on to these secrets? As it is, we have less time. Crash course. If Krishna is telling I can be easily pleased by this, what are those three things? Dayaya sarva bhuteshu. Compassion to all living entities. Krishna gets pleased. Santushtya yena kenava. Yena kenava. Somehow or the other, be satisfied. Don't keep complaining. Hey, mujhe ye nahi mila, mujhe wo nahi mila. I wanted this service. I did not get that service. This, that. Don't keep. Yena kenava santushtya. Be satisfied. That pleases Krishna. There are three cancers of heart: compare, complain, criticize. We'll not get into details, but we should always remember we should stay away from these three cancers of heart. C. Complain, compare, criticize. Very, very important for management and to take care of community of devotees. So, and third, sense control. Sarvendriyo pashantya. Controlling our senses. By these three things, Krishna becomes very easily satisfied. So I'll not get into details, but this Chanakya Pandit shloka is very relevant. The three things we should be satisfied with. Now see, the moment we heard, now again see how Shastras are double-edged sword. I really like this aspect of Shastras, that how same thing can be wrongly understood and rightly understood. So Krishna gets satisfied by yena kenava vi santush. So my chanting is terrible. I'm not able to chant better. I chant 4 rounds a day and at night. Krishna is telling be satisfied. So therefore, Prabhuji, I am not trying. Because that is how Krishna will quickly become happy and pleased. Garvad ho gaya? Wrong, right principle, wrong application. Prabhuji. Okay. So then there's this nice shloka, Santushta Trishu Kartavya. With three things, we should always be satisfied. And very instructive, very instructive. With three things, we should always be satisfied. Swadare, Bhojane, Dhane. Swadare matlab one's own wife. If you are not satisfied with your wife, you look for satisfaction in others' wives. So, Chanakya Pandit is telling, be satisfied with your wife. Swadare. Bhojane. Be satisfied in whatever you are getting homemade at home food. Don't keep looking out, oh, udhar to pizza bana hai, aaj wo Mataji ne pizza banaya, udhar cake bana, Ekadashi cake. No, whatever. No point, exhibiting our senses like that. Be satisfied with whatever bhojan we are getting, and dhane. We should be satisfied with whatever money we are getting. After working nicely, We cannot be careless and irresponsible to not even work for 8 hours a day, saying that, see, I am supposed to be satisfied with, again, wo bhi ulta, I mean, ulta ka ulta ho jayega, right? So we have to work for 8 hours a day in not after 50, but till 50, let us say, or 40, depending on how who has planned, right? And there we have to work as best as possible, as much as possible, in time bound fashion. Then whatever comes, accept it as Krishna Prasad. Now, if let's say by that I'm getting 30,000 a month. Now, should I work 24 hours a day to try to become Bill Gates? Defeats the purpose. That's the point. So we should be satisfied. Now, if I'm careless, I'm not going to office at all. Company person is, I know of case wherein in one college, I'll not name that college. It's like IITs and NITs. In that college, our preaching got stopped. Our preaching got stopped because one devotee, double quotes, devotee, he took up a job. The next day he ran away from that job without informing the company. Okay, I'm telling a real story, a real incident. With our youth preaching, one boy, now he was not very nicely connected. That's another story. But in college's mind, in college's perspective, that is a Hare Krishna person. It's another matter that he was not connected to his authority properly. He was not taking guidance. He was whimsical. But college is thinking what? That he is going to this student center. He is practicing Krishna, Hare Krishna, right? This person, he took up a job. Now college does so much to get companies to that, so that all students get placed. What not they tell companies? They promise so much on behalf of the students to the company, the training and placement in charge. This person got a job. Next day he left job. Now that was the right reason, because that job was slaughterhouse related something at a high level. So he did the right thing, but in the wrong way. See, again, these things can be so intricate, right? Now because he left without informing any authority, without any guidance, without telling company nothing, that HR of that company created a big issue with the college training and placement in charge. Now this training and placement in charge is a big dean in that college, very, very big professor. He has stopped all preaching in that college. Get lost, you Krishna people. What have we done? So how, when we are expanding also, how we have to be so careful about training and education and making sure that everybody is under guidance. Because if one person goes out and does something in the name of ISKCON, that brings bad name to Prabhupada and Krishna. How we are all carrying such great responsibility on our shoulders, especially when we are with outsiders. And then 3 things we should be never satisfied with: Swadhyaya, Japa, and Dan. We should never be satisfied with our Swadhyaya. In one page Prabhupada book I am able to read in one week. Should I be satisfied? Yes, my time is not allowing. My time is not allowing. I cannot read more than 1 page in a week. No problem. Krishna is not firing a bullet on you. But should we be satisfied with that is the question. Now again, you see, now should I let my family, go on in gutter? Let's say my situation is such that because of my family, because of my job, let's say every day there is fight in my family. Somehow, even if I'm surviving, it's a big thing. In that, if I'm reading 1 page Prabhupada book, 1 page of Prabhupada book in 1 week, is it good or bad? Let's say good. Let's say situation is such that it is good. Now we are all mature to understand. Now when he reads this shloka, we should not be satisfied. Now he's saying, yeah, family bhad mein, gaya job bhad mein, I'll come on road, I'll do anything, but I'll read 10 pages of Prabhupada. That's not the point here. Because sometimes some practicalities or situations, emergency situations may demand something else. Now there are 2 points here. If emergency is there every day, that means there is something wrong. Everyday emergency means what? Then some fundamental changes have to be done. And the second thing is, the point is not now you start doing something immediately about it. The point is to not be satisfied. That means you are coming to Krishna and you are saying, Krishna, I want more. Krishna, I want to read more. Krishna, I am not able to read more, but I want to read more. Then Krishna will do something. Now give him a chance to do something also. Right? But if we become satisfied only, then Krishna will say, okay, he's satisfied, leave him. So the whole science of satisfaction is also, it can go this way, it can go that way. And it's a big thing, and I'll not get into that. So unnecessary activities of godless civilization. Third theme of this shloka, wherein what Prabhupada is telling is that when we don't understand that real prosperity is gift of nature, and we don't understand that the root cause of real prosperity is satisfying Krishna, then what we end up doing? We end up doing all the useless material activities, and we expand them more and more and more, and to such an extent that it goes beyond control. To such an extent that we, just like a silkworm, spins a cocoon around itself and gets trapped and dies. Similarly, we create a cocoon of material life around ourselves, even as devotees at times, if we are not watchful of certain things. Because all of us have to have a home, all of us have to have a car, all of us have children, then school, then earning, then money. These very things have a tendency to spiral up like anything, including temples. Needed also, but unless we are careful, they can go in a completely different direction. You know, big material trap also it can become, and it has happened in history, in temples also, in homes also, in temples also, in homes also, right? So therefore it has to be, we have to always make sure that the right principles are always being emphasized so that everybody is conscious of them. So uh, yeah, so we get trapped, just like there is a story of that monkey, right? That monkey went to a jungle and he saw one tin, shining tin with some sweet or some peanuts or whatever monkey likes. He put his hand, he became greedy. Put the second hand, became more greedy. Put his legs also inside, then mouth also inside, and got completely trapped. That is a tendency of the material side of things. The material side of things have a tendency to grow and catch you and trap you. And unless a devotee is carefully, watching, hey, wait, this will go this direction. Let me not do that. Otherwise, this will lead to this. We had that story of a guru and a disciple, right? That one rat and then cat and then cow and then house and then wife and all that stuff. So it will go in that direction, and we have to be conscious. Now, to what extent can we be conscious? That becomes a very very frustrating life every time this. Therefore, best is to remain in association of devotees. Best is to make sure that in our entire week we spend good time with devotees. We spend good money for Krishna consciousness. We spend good time with Krishna. So at least that way one limit is already set. We are not letting it go out of control. We are not getting our material life go out of control because we have made some rules in our life. Okay, every Sunday I will come to temple, come what may. Just like for our career, we put our foot on ground, right? At times, nahi, ye to karna hi padega. Similarly, for Krishna's sake, we have to make sure that whatever works best for me, I have to make sure, and in the interest of my progressing in Krishna consciousness or my family is progressing in Krishna consciousness, whatever has to be done. See, sometimes our batteries are charged, spiritual batteries. We feel very high. Yes, abhi to sab ekdam achhe se karna hai. We sometimes are able to see our death. Sometimes we get shaken up, right? Once I heard a very interesting definition of preaching. Preaching means to disturb a peaceful person and to pacify a disturbed person. What is preaching? To disturb a peaceful person means he is very nicely sleeping in the lap of Maya. What you are supposed to do? Jiva jago ji, what are you doing? And to pacify a disturbed person, it's okay. This life is just one, one small portion of your journey. Don't worry, it's not end of everything. You see? So I know what I was telling. Yeah. So whenever we are feeling high, whenever our spiritual batteries are charged, whenever we're able to see importance of Krishna consciousness in our life, we should make some rules for ourselves at that time, in those high situations. We should make some rules. Okay, now come what may, I'll come to temple every Sunday. Or I will make sure that, I spend some time with devotees, whatever it may be. Or I'll make sure I'll chant at least once in a week, I'll chant with devotees in the morning. Right? Such principles when we make, okay, even if things go bad, even if I am undergoing a very tough material situation in my life, some things will still be under control. Things will not go completely out of control. So then Prabhupada is talking about Ugra Karma. Prabhupada is talking about Ugra Karma, that how when we don't understand these principles, then we unnecessarily start increasing the material activities. Collectively, as a whole world, and also individually in our own respective families. And Prabhupada says how it comes at the cost of so many people, how it comes at the cost of nature. few enjoy at the cost of so many. There is so much exploitation. And I came across these nice pictures. You see how the entire earth is being sent, being encashed for money, no matter what happens. So there is one thing that our ancestors left gold and silver for us. Like if you today also when people dig, they find some golden kalash, they find lot of jewelry, they find lot of money, gold coins. Now our descendants, we are leaving rubber tires for them, for our descendants. Our ancestors left gold and silver for us. We are leaving rubber tires for our descendants. You see how that capitalist is enjoying at the mercy of so many other. And then what has that resulted in? Yeah, so these all of us know, but that has resulted in no peace and happiness, even though that effort was for peace and happiness. Earlier, we used to say Atiti Devo Bhava in front of our house. In front of every house, it used to say Atiti Devo Bhava. Now, in front of every house, it says beware of dog. नहीं होता है तो भी लिख देता है कि nobody should come by mistake also. And this day is also not very far. The mat will say तुम फिर टपक पड़े. I mean, it's in Hindi. तुम फिर टपक पड़े. It means why did you come again? Something like that. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that natural prosperity, living a God-conscious life can lead to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, whole world, one family. And here, one small family not able to live together. Now, these days, forget even husband, wife, and son, child. They are to now saying, no children, I don't want children. Even husband, wife are not able to stay together. No children also. Santosham Param Sukham, from there we have gone to Ye Dil Mange More. So, this is what Ugra Karma has done to us. Earlier, things were used, people were loved. Today, things are loved, people are used. And none of these things will give us happiness. Earlier, people had so much time for each other. Life without net, life without technology. See, girls, boys, men, women, all of them, whatever, nicely, happy time, in house, having some time for each other. Today, everybody is frustrated. Either everybody is looking at their mobile, even when a family is together, even in devotee houses. Now, why we are discussing this is because a devotee has to be careful to take out those things which are coming as Ravana inside the house, who will soon kidnap Sita. Devotional service. Come says Sadhu, how did Ravana kidnap Sita? How did Ravana kidnap Sita? Sadhu only, na? So we can invite such Ravana Sadhu in our home, only to wonder 5 years later, why my son is not practicing Krishna consciousness? Why we are not able to have nice time with each other? Why we are not reading Shastras together? Why we are not able to do Aarti together? A family that prays together stays together, right? Because some basic principles, some core fundamentals we did not pay attention to. And something which is small now becomes big later. And this is so true for culture. This is so true for culture. I would just give one very nice concept which once Chetan Charan Prabhu told me. What a brilliant concept he said. Not, I mean, some devotees, I mean, my thing is a mixture of several devotees, but whatever it is, the point is this. What does knowledge, Prabhupada says that we have to make devotees by knowledge, culture, and devotion. We have read this statement somewhere. We have to make devotees by knowledge, culture, and devotion. Devotion, though, obviously, we know that's whole Krishna consciousness. Now, let's talk about knowledge and culture. By knowledge, you can make devotees, correct? How you can make devotees by knowledge? By giving classes, by preaching Bhagavad Gita, by giving them message of Krishna. That's making devotees by knowledge, right? But that's not enough. Knowledge brings a conscious change in somebody. Let's say when I'm telling somebody that goal of life is to please Krishna, then I'm thinking, oh yes, goal of life is to please Krishna. Okay, so tomorrow onwards, I should do something which pleases Krishna. You see, knowledge brings a conscious change in somebody. Culture brings an unconscious or subconscious change in somebody. The kind of dress we wear, the kind of music we listen to, the kind of movies we watch, the kind of books we read, the kind of dramas and things we watch, the kind of festivals we observe, the kind of food we eat, all this is a part of culture. And culture, if it's right, then it brings an unconscious or subconscious change in somebody, even without knowing one is becoming a devotee. There are many examples like that. Those who are not very philosophically inclined or intellectually inclined, even without attending any class, they have become very good devotees because of the culture of Krishna consciousness. And that's duty of every ISKCON temple, and that's duty of every home to have that culture of Krishna consciousness. Like once Prabhuji in one lecture, he was telling that how, it has come all the way from, spiritual world to Prabhupada disciples, and it should not stop there. It should continue with us. Just like the Ganga flowing, has come to ISKCON temples. Now, every Sunday or whenever we are coming, we have to come here with our buckets and mugs and fill the water and go to our home and then spread from there. Right? So culture is so important. Now, what Chetan told is this, that what happens with culture? Remember the point which I was trying to make, that one small thing, we don't realize, but after 5 years, we see, oh, how far we have come. So there is a scientific experiment. If you keep a frog in a boiling hot water, will a frog die or live? Live. You know why? As soon as you throw him inside, he will sense it's so hot, he will jump out. Live. A frog thrown in a boiling hot water will die or live? Live. Why? Because immediately he'll sense there is tremendous temperature here, he'll jump out. But the part 2 of the experiment, put the frog in a nice cool water. Peacefully frog is floating, jacuzzi, sauna, everything is doing nicely. Huh? Now start heating gradually. Start heating. Slowly temperature is increasing. Frog is not realizing, because slow changes we don't realize. How our children from here, they have come to here now. Right? Mataji's wonder, my son is now taller than me. Right? Like that often. So slow changes nobody perceives. The frog, T1 to T2, T2 to T3, delta changes he is not able to perceive. Jacuzzi chal raha hai uska, beech mein garam ho raha hai, acha ho raha hai, jacuzzi chal raha hai, dies when it becomes boiling hot, because he is not able to perceive that change. Chetan Chandra Prabhu said, culture is like blood. As long as it's not wounded, we don't realize the value of it. Is blood important for our life or not? Blood is vital for our life. Vital. Now, as long as things are fine, blood is not getting lost. There is no injury, no wound. We don't realize the value of blood. When there is a big wound, and then when blood is getting lost at tremendous speed, then the first thing which is to be done is stop the loss of blood, get blood out from outside. Right? So culture is like that. As long as it is not getting lost, as long as it is preserved, we don't realize the value of it, because automatically it is doing some magic. We don't realize the value of it. But when the culture starts degrading, then we realize, hey, wait, we have come very far. Something great loss has happened. And that loss, because it is gradual, we don't realize how far we have come. And it could be for dresses, it could be for Vaishnava appearance, it could be for Vaishnava behavior. First, we were offering obeisances very nicely to each other. Now we have become so familiar that we are okay just saying Dandavat, and then we are not even saying, because we have become so familiar. Whatever it may be, all elements of culture. Earlier, we were so enthusiastic. Before Prasadam, we would nicely fold our hands and pray. Now, while taking plate only, things are happening, and fine, started eating. We are all doing it. But at least once in a while, we should be conscious. Wait a second. Am I doing the right thing? Have I gone a little too far? Right? So the more we reinforce these practices, the more we'll nicely practice Krishna consciousness. Guru and Krishna will be happy and satisfied. Okay. Now I'll just skip some portions because we are running out of time. But this line of Prabhupada is very nice for Ugra Karma. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human nature. 4 things: overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. If we don't teach our children how to wash their own utensils, if we don't teach our children how to wash our own clothes, tomorrow they'll be dependent. Either they'll need a maid, a housekeeper, or some washing machine or something. That will not come for free. That will need money. You see how one thing leads to other. We can increase our necessities unlimitedly. Artificial standards of living. But the more we become self-capable, the better. you are not dependent on another's mercy, then even in less, everybody will be happy. But if we have increased our standard of living to such an unregulated extent, and sometimes, some parents are proud. I've seen even devotees' parents that, oh, in my childhood, I did not have so much money. Now I have so much money that I'm giving all facilities to my children. We are making them handicapped, and we are not leaving them with any option of not being dependent on others later. So there's a parenting twist to it. Now, similarly, there are so many other twists to it also. There are so many aspects of this. Okay. So we have to ask ourselves, are we following the principle of simple living and high thinking, or are we simply living and hardly thinking? Very relevant for grahasthas, because our life is so fast. Yes, we started off as a devotee, but the demands of material life is so difficult, so challenging, that unless we keep a careful eye, may not be on a daily basis, may not be on a weekly basis, but on a monthly basis, are things going right? Is my sadhana well? Is my swadhyay well? Is my sangha well? Is my seva well? Is my sadachar well? If not, okay, let me do whatever changes I need to make. Brahmacharis probably may be doing this every day. We probably may not be able to do every day. We are foaming at the mouth, trying to somehow, give school fees, go to office, do something at home. But once a month, some Saturday, Sunday, let us not compromise our standard of thinking to improve our standard of living. And then just the last theme very quickly, glories of Krishna's glance, which all of us wonderfully know. But I'll just talk about, I don't know. Yeah, so I mean, Krishna's glance, we have so many pastimes in the entire Bhagavatam about how Krishna's glance, can deliver demons. Krishna's glance gave life to the cowherd boys when they were poisoned by Kalia. Krishna's glance gave life to boys when they entered inside Aghasur. Right? Prahlad is telling Narsingadev, my father has been purified by your glance. Demons and demigods were struggling to lift the Mandara mountain for Samudra Manthan. And their bodies were getting crushed because they were themselves coming under the mountain, both demons and demigods. And there it comes that Lord brought them back to life by glancing over them. What is application to us? Application to us is, and of course, Damodarashtakam also. Application to us is we should pray to Krishna that he should cast his rainful shower of mercy glances on us. And whenever we go to temple to take darshan, actually we are not seeing the Lord. The Lord is seeing us. Yes, sir, I am present. We are telling the Lord, present, sir, our attendance. Right? So so now that we understand about the glance of the Lord, which we have kind of bypassed, but we all know, whenever we take darshan of the Lord, we should pray to Krishna to cast his merciful glance upon us. And when Krishna casts his merciful glance upon us, our lives will be perfect. And that will happen only when we are doing all other things also very nicely. Otherwise, this Jagannath has big eyes. With big eyes, what is Jagannath doing? He's very eager to give mercy. He's very eager to see, oh, who is doing some nice service? This Mataji is doing some nice service. This Prabhuji is doing, and Jagannath is eager to give mercy. But it should not go the other way around. That we are doing such nonsense or we are behaving in such ways which is displeasing Guru and Krishna, that Jagannath's eyes is wondering, kya kar rahe log? That should not happen. These eyes can have two meanings, right? So we should have the nice meaning. In Vishnu Sahasranam, one of the names of Krishna is Nimisho Animishaha. Nimisho Animishaha means, very wonderful meaning it has. Krishna is such a wonderful master that he wants to close his eyes when we are doing something wrong. And he is eager to open his eyes when we are doing something good for him. That means he's so eager to give mercy. Such a master he is. I'm really sorry I had to kind of rush through the glance of Krishna. But anyway, just to summarize very quickly, we talked about few things in today's class. The first was about the context in which Kunti Maharani is speaking this particular verse. And this verse was about four things. Real prosperity is nature's gift. We get that only when Krishna is satisfied. Third, without understanding this, we unnecessarily increase material activities, which is the basis of godless civilization. And fourth, the glories of Krishna's glance. And we also went into some details of how to satisfy Krishna, how it is easy also, difficult also, and how when we preach compassion to all living entities, Many times we are over compassionate on ourselves. We show too much mercy on ourselves. If we show too much mercy on ourselves, we'll wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. We should not show that much mercy to ourselves, but we should show a lot of mercy to others in terms of encouraging them in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, in our movement, preaching is the essence. And of course, as the new temple is coming up, we also discussed about not being satisfied with our charity. And we talked about three things we also talked about how something can be taken to a different extreme, how the concept of satisfaction, first of all, can be understood and misunderstood, and how within satisfaction also, we have to see some practical time, place, and circumstances based on which we have to apply that principle. So many things we saw, and we saw how Chanakya Pandit was telling that we should not be satisfied with our dana. So, of course, temple has not asked me to say this. I don't know how it is coming spontaneously. And Janmashtami thing also came, by the way, spontaneously. And how Janmashtami, original Janmashtami time, there was so much prosperity, they were throwing butter at each other. So Janmashtami is coming up. We all are enthusiastically looking forward to take full-hearted participation in Janmashtami and do whatever services we can, as many services as we can. Because we also saw one important aspect of service today, that only that completes our Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, even our chanting, our reading, our hearing will not translate into some tangible experiences and realizations. And charity, as we were discussing, that we all can ask ourselves that, are we doing charity according to whatever our situation allows? And we should not be satisfied with that. So we should then also try to do charity with our prana, artha, dhiya, vacha. With all of that, whatever we can. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. If there are any comments and questions, maybe we can quickly, and if we have time. And all senior devotees here, if any comments, any corrections, we'll be happy to take. I'm sorry, actually, I took so much time that I have not left time for any questions or comments. I think therefore there is silence. One? Okay, any one question we have from anybody? Any question or any comment? Yes, Anjan Prabhu. Maybe it's not working. I Hare Krishna. Okay, so Anjan Prabhu is asking this question that we talked about serving or doing charity through prana, artha, dhiya, vacha, kaya, vacha, manasa, as he's telling. So Prabhuji wants to know how through prana, how can we serve Krishna? So of course, one thing we know that when we are making Krishna as a central principle of our life, when we are trying to surrender to Krishna, when we are trying to take every small and big decision in our life in such a way that pleases Guru and Krishna, then first of all, we have already given our life to Krishna in one sense. If that we have really, really taken to our heart, that every small and big decision in our life, we are taking, asking, will Guru be happy with this? Will Krishna be happy with this? Right? And of course, Krishna's happiness we don't know, but Guru's happiness we know. And we have these Guru Sadhu Shastra Praman. So that in itself, the fact that we are chanting Hare Krishna, the fact that we are spending 2-3 hours of our every day, for pleasure of Guru and Krishna, means we are to some extent giving our life to Krishna. Number one. Number two, we should never be in our comfort zone. If we are in comfort zone, soon we'll become too comfortable, and then things will start changing soon, because ultimately we all are limited with our body, limited with our time. And unless we train our body, train our mind to work hard for Guru and Krishna, then the tendency is to become lethargic. And therefore, we should always, so there is a comfort zone, there is a stretch zone, and there is a panic zone. If we are in panic zone, we will not last long. Krishna consciousness is not a sprint, it is a marathon. We don't want to be devotees who are devotees for 1 year, very wonderfully seen everywhere, in every program, but after that 10 years not to be found, not to be heard. So we don't want to be in panic zone. We don't want to be in comfort zone also, because then Maya will make us nicely sleep in our lap. If not today, then gradually, because that will only keep increasing. We want to be in stress zone. Now for stress zone, what we have to do? We have to take on some burden. So we don't have to burden the shoulder of our spiritual master. We have to shoulder the burden of our spiritual master. And in our parampara, every acharya has taken this headache of preaching. It is a transcendental headache which we are inheriting. It is a transcendental headache which we are inheriting. And that requires extra endeavor. That requires pain. That requires us to come out of comfort zone. If we are willing to come out of that comfort zone, to somehow give this message of Krishna to others in whichever way, or to take up responsibilities in the temple that requires some sacrifice, again, that is life. We are giving some life, to prana. And of course, if we can keep increasing it, the more we finish off these responsibilities, the more we keep increasing, and we take up our health in such a way that by the time we are ready for Krishna, it should not be that now we are already in some cot lying down. So we should take care of our health also in that way, praying that right now, because of my circumstances, I'm not able to give myself wholesale, but I'm just eagerly looking for that day. I'm planning on every day. I'm calculating every day that when that will happen, right? And not that I'm giving zero right now. That's also a wrong understanding. To give zero right now, thinking that, okay, after 10 years of earning money, I'll give 100. That doesn't work out. That doesn't work out. First of all, we may die in between. Secondly, that consciousness of surrender, we may not have that time. Thirdly, ISKCON will say, get lost. Because we all have to grow in our services gradually. You can't descend from the sky all of a sudden saying that, okay, now make me temple president. Doesn't happen. And to be able to serve more, to be able to give more life, you will need more and more avenues to serve. So therefore, for several reasons, even if less, every day we should try to see how much life we can give for Krishna. As I said, every day we are already giving 2-3 hours. Now on a weekly basis, for preaching or for taking responsibilities in temple, am I giving more life to Krishna? And right now, whatever we are able to give, okay, we should try to increase it gradually. This is what is, and maybe if others can also add their understanding of what it means to give pran, but that's my understanding. For Janma Sarthak Kari and Kar Paropkar, for both, for internal revolution and for external revolution. ISKCON is a revolution. ISKCON is not a temple. ISKCON is not a society. It's a society, certainly, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's a revolution. Both internal, sadhana, and external, prachar. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Let us all thank Prabhuji for the wonderful class that we heard today. Wonderful points. We're loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As always, we will all assemble downstairs for the quick announcements. So please all continue downstairs, because the Kannada devotees are also downstairs. So let us all go downstairs. Hare Krishna.